April 30th, 2022. Wow, this year is getting going quite along here, isn't it? Well, the latest thing, which I assume you've all heard about, is that the Department of Homeland Security is creating the Disinformation Governance Board. And they've got this lady named Nina Janowitz, who seems to be a really crazy lady, who's going to be running this thing. Although apparently she is an author and actually a disinformation specialist herself, since she's put out some. In fact, that's an interesting question. Is this supposed to block disinformation or actually just to put out the official government line? Maybe a little of both. And so that's created quite a stir, and I have some ideas what ought to be done about it at the present time. So, for instance, it's my thought that it would be a good idea. We have two must-pass bills that are still pending before the Senate, as they call them. That is, there's this COVID supplemental relief bill that's got hung up over how you're going to pay for it. The Republicans want some of the unspent money already appropriated, directed away from CRT training or something of that sort, and moved toward handling this COVID vaccination stuff. And the other one is the $33 billion of Ukrainian aid bill that's up there. So so I think those are two potential targets for what I'm proposing. By the way, if you like these videos, please subscribe, give me a like because it helps with the algorithm, and you can click the bell for notifications. Comments appreciated. Yeah, I think that there's a clear path forward here, it seems to me, and that is to basically block the passage of a key must-pass bill in order to add a provision defunding this Disinformation Governance Board from ever existing. It seems to me that's a perfect way that you can use the filibuster privileges in the Senate to basically block the thing until they agree to the amendment. And in fact, in my opinion, at this point, slowing down some of this aid to Ukraine might not be a bad idea. But because I think Ukraine is maybe at times feeling its oats a little bit too much, but we'll get into that maybe in a different video. But at any rate, it's going to go through eventually anyhow, and since it's must pass, it sounds to me like that might be something we could use as a vehicle to to defund that particular effort. Now, as to what this board would do if it was functional is an interesting question. It doesn't really have any real power as such, in the sense of, they can't really prevent people from saying what they want to say. I don't think they can impose a criminal penalty for saying something they disagree with. So I think what it probably would end up being is just sort of a definition of the official line. I thought they already had one unofficially, but I guess they need to make it official. Why they're putting it in Homeland Security, I don't know. By the way, at any rate, I think that's what it would end up being if it happens, is that they will declare various things that the administration wants to declare as misinformation, and then all the big tech and all the liberal media would all glom onto it immediately and officially be coordinated to say, that's it, that's the truth, that's a lie, whatever. Like they've done all along, which is kind of an interesting question, why they need to be so open about it. I mean, haven't they sort of been doing it anyhow? So, which kind of leaves you in this looks to me to be a misstep to actually expose what they're doing when they were doing it pretty effectively anyhow. And this may be a reaction to Elon Musk as buying Twitter, and I don't know, maybe they're trying to use this in some way to sort of harass him or something as he goes forward with his takeover, which, as I pointed out in a previous video, will probably still take some months to actually implement because of all the bureaucratic and administrative delaying efforts that the administration will put forth. I mean, there are some of these things that are just natural processes, but it also, kind of happens anyhow. So anyway, that's sort of the situation on that. I think that is one crazy lady. I have to admit, they head up something like this. Yeah, and Mayorkas isn't anything to write home about either. I mean, this guy is had the most embarrassing presentation before Congress this last week that is imaginable. I mean, he doesn't know how many terrorists that what happened to the terrorists that they found that got into the country. This is, you know, it's hard to know quite what's driving this individual, but it looks to me like this is a lever that can be used if we can get the right kind of court rulings against some of these immigration policies. There's a clear path forward of what to do, and that would be to start or find him in contempt of court if he doesn't implement the rulings, and then start fining him maybe $10,000 a day, just like they're planning on fining Trump, until he relents or resigns. I mean, because it seems to me that this is he's completely derelict in his duties. He can throw terms around like traitor. I mean, legally that's not quite the case, but he's definitely in dereliction of his duties of office, and he's not carrying out the law, which he's sworn to do. And so I think that it certainly is a clear case for impeachment, although I don't know what good that would do in reality other than making a statement, because effectively you probably aren't going to get enough Democrat senators to vote to remove him. Although I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of them upset about what's going on right now, but I don't think you're going to get it through the House. That'd be interesting if we could get him impeached with the Democrats running Congress. That would be a major step forward. I mean, I'm not against the effort. I think anything that kind of creates a little bit of chaos for the Democrats is probably a good idea here, because they're doing enough things to try to create chaos for us. So that's kind of the situation there. Of course, other bad news on the economic front have come out the last week. The first quarter's GDP declined 1.4% negative. So that's only one more of those, and we'll actually be officially in a recession, which is shocking. The last thing I thought we were going to be in right now was a recession. The Fed was all jazzed up the week before to increase the Fed funds rate 3/4 of a point, which was going to be more than they previously planned for the May meeting. And now I think that may be thrown into a little question. What do? They have also inflation now has hit 8.5%, going up from the month before. but and now we already have the economy slowing down. So will that deter the Fed from increasing interest rates, or will they basically just punt on that whole thing? We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it is the case that that puts them in a bit of a quandary. This is a definition of stagflation that's already happened. I thought that this would occur later in the year, of course, because as they increased interest rates, you would have a slowing down of the economy. But with it already slowing down before any significant interest rate increases have occurred, that's kind of an amazing development, I think. It apparently is attributed a lot to a slowdown in inventories, which may just mean that they built the inventories too much up in the fourth quarter of last year, and so now they've slowed up on building up inventories and waiting for people to buy the things, and then so that may temporarily put things negative, and maybe it'll go back to positive in the next quarter, which we'll get the report on sometime, I guess, in late July, and perhaps it won't be a full recession yet, but ultimately this is a very bad economy that's developing here. And then we have the ongoing problem of food prices increasing, along with the gasoline prices, of course, as a consequence of the Biden energy policies on the one hand, and on the other hand, the reaction to the war in Ukraine. So, and then we have food plants that have been burned up and so forth, and been put out of service, which is food processing plants, that is, and that's another disturbing trend, which would be interesting to see. Why is this happening? Is this just poor safeguards in the plants, or is it something else? Something to be kind of nervous about, And I guess I'll make a brief comment. Well, as to the war in Ukraine, I guess more and more weapons are now flowing in from the West to support the Ukrainian military. And at the same time, the Russian offensive seems to have gotten off to a fairly slow start. I mean, after over a week and a half into it, and it doesn't look like there's been a lot of change in the positions on the battlefront. A lot of this is being attributed to tough Ukrainian resistance, and also the fact that it's been rainy, and given the fact that it's rainy, you can't really drive your vehicles off road very much, and on road they're very subjected to attacks. So I think apparently things are moving slowly on that. So at any rate, we'll have to see how that all pans out also. Well, I'll wrap this up for now. And by the way, I mentioned below, you can subscribe to my various social media accounts. They are listed below in the description part. And we'll wrap this up until next time.